Hello everyone, welcome, make yourselves comfortable. In today's video, I want to talk about why vegans and meat eaters rarely end up agreeing with one another. I'll be sharing why finding any middle ground is so darn difficult and how you might get to a place of peaceful coexistence instead, if that's even possible. So if you want to release some tension there and pick up some tips on vegan meat eater resolutions, then keep on watching. For those of you who are new, welcome to Emma's Deep Dives, where it is my aim to educate, inform and inspire you about animal welfare science and ethics and how this impacts the decisions we make every day. All right, let's get into it. To set the scene, let's quickly go over the four main arguments where vegans and meat eaters typically butt heads. So the main debates are, firstly, that one diet is better for your health than the other. Secondly, one diet is more environmentally friendly than the other. Thirdly, that one diet is better for animals than the other. And overall, finally, that the ethics of one is better than the other, or more moral. I'm sure anyone who feels particularly strongly about the subject will have had a heated discussion about it previously. And you know, it rarely ends without someone getting defensive, feeling attacked, guilty, uncomfortable, or even morally questioned. My question is then, are we just terrible at finding the middle ground here? What is it that we're not getting that keeps leading us to this unsatisfying place of non-resolution? To help answer this, we need to think about what this middle ground might actually look like from both sides of these different debates. For meat eaters, the middle ground for these four different arguments might be that eating fewer animal-based products is better for your health if it's been pasture-raised, free-range, organic, and unprocessed. That eating animal products that come from smaller scale regenerative farms that's locally sourced would be better for the environment because of its lower carbon footprint and better treatment of soil. And choosing animal products that have been raised with the highest welfare standards and have been slaughtered humanely, rejecting factory farmed products, and even hunting your own should result in the better treatment of animals and allow them to live better lives and have a clean death as far as possible. So the middle ground here as far as ethics goes would be trying to combine those above debates together as much as you can, which would lead to an overall reduction of animal product consumption and choosing to eat them in a way that's better for the environment and animal lives overall, right? If you're a meat eater, omnivore, flexitarian, or whatever you want to call yourself, then perhaps you'd think that this is a reasonable standpoint, i.e. to do as little harm as possible. Here's the catch. The issue is that this is our understanding of the middle ground, representing the majority of folks as non-vegans. For vegans, this middle ground doesn't really exist in the same way. If we look at the basic vegan standpoint for those same topics, they'd look as follows. So firstly, eliminating all animal products from our diets is generally better for your health, which is contentiously debated and it's not scientifically proven, otherwise every doctor would be saying to eat a vegan diet. 2, eliminating animal products and eating locally produced organic food is generally considered better for the environment and maybe the lowest carbon emitting diet. Thirdly, that eliminating animal products results in very few deaths of animal species, so their welfare doesn't have to be compromised or their lives taken for human greed and needs. So the ethics of this in sum is that being vegan is a more compassionate, environmentally friendly way of living that's certainly better for your moral and maybe mental health. If these are things that a vegan might believe, however, then why would they want to find the middle ground to compromise on? Moving further away from this would seem to be taking a step back. Surely they'd be compelled to persuade others to get on board with this instead. Confusingly, this vegan argument is also to do as little harm as possible, but it can very often come across as you are actively choosing to do more harm than me, which, if you consider yourself to be an ethical omnivore, doesn't really feel like a particularly nice accusation when you're only coming from a place of wanting to do your bit and help as well. The reason why vegans and meat eaters cannot really agree on this, even if you raised animals in the most environmentally and welfare-friendly way possible, is because the act of slaughtering and then consuming them, no matter how humanely, violates that vegan principles that animals have the right to life, and therefore it's deemed unacceptable for us to take that away. So it's not really much of a middle ground then, unless you start to really push vegans to extreme examples, like, would you hunt an animal if you were stranded on a desert island? Even then, if any of them started to cross that line, they can be labelled as hypocrites or, not vegan enough or even vegan at all by others, especially by some of the hardcore vegans out there. So, where are we left? We're in a position where these two ethical standpoints don't really align to allow us to find this middle ground, because now you're starting to debate an individual's core values and principles of ethics, which is extremely hard to do and really is why people start to get defensive and start closing off. Well then, what can we do instead? I've clubbed together a few suggestions for how you can foster a more peaceful resolution to this debate moving forward. Tip number 1. Be mindful and connect to what your values are to start with. If you can acknowledge and understand what the ethical principle you're starting from is, you can more clearly work towards a common ground goal, knowing where the safety boundaries are within your core ethics. You don't have to feel like you're compromising your values if you're mindful of what they are to begin with. Tip number 2. Consider reframing the purpose of your debate. Unless your goal is to simply upset and troll other people, I believe the easiest and most effective way to come to a more agreeable place is to reframe the purpose of this whole argument and think sort of beyond just ourselves as individuals. Knowing that you're most likely to disagree upon certain elements of this debate because they are ethically incompatible, i.e. the animal rights argument, you can consider the larger, more important goal for society, humanity and the planet, which I don't know if you've noticed, but is mostly on fire and also underwater. So it's important that we can try and work together towards making whatever difference we can, no matter how different that might be from one another, and even if that person's actions violate your own principles of ethics within the context of this particular argument. So rather than arguing over those really difficult to shift personal values, the biggest quick win right now that you can gain with your time is to at least accept one another's willingness to try it all, if you're both interested and investing in doing your bit to help the planet. Resolution tip number 3. Consider the power of encouragement for where that person is on their journey. Maybe, just maybe, something you've said resonates with them about, the impact of factory farming on the environment, so they choose to switch to their town butcher that sources meat from local high welfare farms instead, if that's available. Or you may highlight to someone that the highly processed soy protein meat alternatives that they eat might be produced, packaged and transported all over the world before it gets to their plate, and therefore it might be worth at least taking into consideration the environmental cost of this compared to other options. So there's plenty of ways that we can make small incremental changes at any point throughout our journey towards this sort of greater good, that suggestions made in the right context, coming from a place of encouragement, might make a substantial difference to that person's behaviour. Even if you're a vegan and you're morally opposed to exploiting animals for human benefit, which is your right, don't waste your time arguing about your values in this particular debate, when you could be encouraging each other to try anything that might help make a difference to the wider, more substantial issue of our planet's health. Anyway, I could go on for longer, but if you want to learn about the specific differences between animal welfare and animal rights, then check out my other video where I answer that question in a lot more depth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode of Emma's Deep Dives. Bye.